Broadcasting from the wine country in California, this is the Kick-Ass Relationship Show, where intimate secrets and modern advice for couples is shared to elevate your relationship to live sexier, happier, and to have way more fun. We believe success in life is better when mixed with excitement and love. And now, here's your kick-ass relationship coach and best-selling author, Midori Verity.
Welcome back, everyone. I am so happy to have you here. And today, I am just thrilled about the topic of our show. We are going to find out what men really think. Because I don't know about you, but there have been so many times where I am talking to my husband, and I'm thinking, what? That makes no sense. His response to me makes no sense. I don't know where he is coming from, and I really do think that he could be from Mars. And I've had these similar situations when I've talked with other men. So we are going to gain some clarity today. And my guest is fantastic, and he's very open. So we are going to be talking with Rabbi Bregman in just a moment. But of course, we are going to start with 3 minutes to thrive. Today's topic is a hot topic, and it is my response, my tips that I'm going to give you are going to be controversial. Not everyone is going to agree, but as you all know, I always deliver straight. I don't sugarcoat anything, and my decisions and my recommendations are always done based on 30 years of being with the same person, but also on what I have seen be the most effective. So here we go. So the topic of today's 3 Minutes to Thrive is what to do when your relationship is erupting, and there seems to be no solution at the moment. So here's where the controversy comes in. My recommendation is to actually leave. Stay with me on this, everyone. Stay with me on this, because I have 5 specific rules to go along with this when you do leave. And also, my other part of this is that I'm not saying leave and go file for divorce papers. That's not my point. Studies have shown relationships where there is a lot of toxicity and a lot of unhappiness and a lot of arguing and fighting shows that for the children, this is very detrimental. And it's more detrimental to stay in a long-term relationship like that than to leave. So what my solution or what my suggestion is to just kind of it's more of a break is what I'm saying. If this is your first time taking a big step into this, my suggestion is to take a break. So that could be just leaving for an hour or two, or leaving for a couple days, or leaving possibly for a month, depending on your situation. Here are my 5 rules to go along with this that are very, very important. So rule number 1, go by yourself. This is not a time to go hang out with your girlfriends and to say how horrible your partners are, or for the guys to go get some beers with your friends. This is a time to reflect and really think about what is going on. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is to think from the mountaintop. I talk about this a lot. Get a mountaintop view. I want you to reflect on what's going on, but from a much higher standpoint. Don't micromanage. Don't get stuck in the nitty-gritty. Really dig in and do some soul searching. What is going on? Number 3, and I talk about this game that I want you to play in your head, and don't take any offense to this, but think about, how is it my fault? Play that game with yourself. Is it my fault? Think about what your responsibility is in the situation. Are you not opening up your ears enough to listen? Are you always responding the same way? Are you constantly responding with more negativity than is necessary? Are you following a certain pattern that needs to be changed? Think about that. I am not saying this is anyone's fault, but when you use this as a game, it really helps to gain some clarity and to take responsibility, which is very important in a long-term healthy and happy relationship. Number 4 is to write out the pros and cons of your relationship. Think about the future. if you did happen to leave, what's it really look like? What's it going to be like when it comes to holidays? What's it going to be like when your partner shows up with somebody else? What's it going to be like for your children? What kind of effect is this going to have? And do you still love your partner? Is there still something there to save? Write all of that out and get a clear view. Number 5, write down and think about what needs to change to make it better. Be very specific. What are kind of your hard rules? What do you need to see that happens? Maybe your partner came from a difficult upbringing, and those issues are recurring now. There is a lot to save. If you have had great times in your relationship, if there's still love there, this is an opportunity to step up as a partner and support your partner and help guide them through, but help them see it with clarity and be their support system. That's why we get married. That's what the beauty of all this is. And sometimes we just need that guidance. We need to be each other's partner and support system to get through. So I know that this was a deep conversation today, but hopefully it helps some of you have a better idea of what to help someone, help you get through this or to help someone else with. Okay, so without further ado, we are going to get into our interview, and I am interviewing today Rabbi Shlomo Bregman. He has such a digital, large global impact with media outlets such as Huffington Post and Bloomberg Radio, who regularly refer to Shlomo as the Jewish Tony Robbins. Do you guys get that? That's how big this guy is. He is known as a Jewish Tony Robbins. He's also a matchmaker, an entrepreneur, an author, an attorney, and, of course, a rabbi. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, and I've been looking forward to this for a while, so thank you.
Good, and I've been looking forward to talking to you. You have such great energy, as I told you before. But today's topic, we are digging in, and I just forgive me, but I always jump in right away because I want to get to the nitty-gritty. We want to find out what men really are thinking. So my first question to you, in your opinion, what are the biggest non-physical differences that you have noticed between men and women?
The biggest non-physical differences?
Right.
Oh, sure. Well, sure. So obviously when we just have a discussion like this, we're going to be speaking about, in terms of generality. Some men exhibit, let's say, many times people who are sensitive to relationships and spiritual energy speak about it sort of on a scale of polarity, sort of on an energetic level. Men, generally, some men are more masculine and exhibit traits that are more typically masculine, and some ladies are more typically more feminine on that kind of on a scale, and a lot of people fall a little bit more towards the middle, somewhere in between. So for starters, I would say one of the biggest non-physical differences is their primary emotional needs in relationships. I would say that, generally speaking, most men with whom I deal, whether it's in men, or they're dealing with their fellow men or women, they're very concerned with their honor, their recognition, the esteem in which they are held. In general, most of the women that I help with matchmaking, my wife and I help with relationship counseling and the like, are more interested and concerned with being loved and esteemed. So I would tell you, for starters, that much of the day-to-day conduct of men is in pursuit of activities that will add to the honor and esteem in which they are held in the world, whereas a lady's primary needs in general in a relationship is to be loved. And if we would get nitty-gritty, and I'm just trying to give you a little bit for starters, I think there's many examples on how that plays out in the workforce, in relationships, at home, their style of argumentation, and where they choose to pursue their passions and put their energies.
Yeah, I love that you explained it that way. And again, all of this is generality, so don't take offense to any of this, anyone. We're just kind of getting some guidelines because there are often similar differences between men and women. That's just the way it is. And you mentioned something. You talked about men, honor is really important to them, and esteem. And I've seen that with a lot of my couples who come to me, especially if the husband or the male has lost his job. It is devastating on so many different levels. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. And I just want to take a second, since I did my 3 minutes to thrive and what that topic was about. This is where being in a relationship can be very, very important and help you get through issues and challenges quicker in that. And we're just talking about, losing a job or something where it's a nick in the armor. Men take it very personally, and so as the spouse, if you can support them and help them come up with a way to think about it differently, it can be a win-win. It can be more of a positive outcome. Have you experienced that, Rabbi Bregman?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Most men want to be a provider and feel great about that role, to be able to provide for their wives and for their children, and they take a lot of pride in that. When they're laid off, or there's a change in the marketplace, or they got fired, or a deal doesn't close that they were working on for a while, obviously that can hurt a man because he generally takes pride in such a thing. In my general experience, men are concerned deep down, even if they don't verbalize it, which is a classic guy thing, that perhaps his wife doesn't look up to him the way she used to, or she's going to think that he's not pulling his weight, or the chief area where in his mind he believes he's going to be adding value to this relationship, he's become, enfeebled. So I think that most men are happy to receive advice, perspective, out-of-the-box thinking, a kind word, and a boost, but they're very sensitive to criticism, at this time. So I think that in general, married ladies should be circumspect and careful that if they offer advice and perspective, it should be to say, I believe in you. We're going to get this turned around. You're going to land on your feet. We're going to get something better. Don't worry, in a way that builds up and doesn't point out what the man may or may not have done wrong by omission or commission, which led to him not being able to be the provider right now.
Right. And you brought up another good point during, when you're explaining all of that, and you talked about verbalization. Sometimes men have a challenge verbalizing their feelings or their thoughts. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Men generally, if they're having those feelings, they, in general, are more, I don't know, it's cultural or what level it comes from, but it's more often processed within.
Right. So what are some suggestions that you have to help men open up more and express their feelings so that things can be resolved easier?
Sure. Well, so in general, for men to be able to open up more and share their feelings, obviously, I would say for starters, it begins when a person develops that muscle and builds up that relationship communication muscle when there's not a crisis and there's not a problem. When a person becomes more fluid, it's like a muscle. You become stronger in that communication muscle as to sharing your day, what happened with you, what's on your mind, not just giving over the words of I went here, I did here, this, and so on and so forth. But if you're opening up and you practice that in general, it's a lot easier to do at a time of crisis or difficulty. Ultimately, I think men and women need to realize that if they find themselves being closed in communication, whether it's because they've had bad experiences before or that seems to be their nature, it's something that they're going to actively have to put attention on because it's impossible to bond and connect to another person without opening yourself up to some level of vulnerability. Within the Jewish tradition, our texts speak about that there has to be a cutting away, so to speak, of oneself in order for there to be even a place for someone to get glued to you and connected to you. And all forms of connection and real synergy occur when one person makes himself vulnerable to another. So it really has to do with basically putting your energy and your mental focus on stripping away and allowing yourself to be exposed. Otherwise, we all walk around like turtles in shells, and there's no real place for our spouse or our significant other to latch on and connect with us.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And I like that you actually cut part of yourself out so you can open it up to allow someone new to come in. And let's be honest, when you become partners with somebody, especially in marriage, you both become someone new. It's like stepping into a new, not only a new stage, but a new person. That's what it's all about. And it can be fantastic when you allow the process to occur in a supportive way. And we've seen it happen when it's not so supportive too. And so you brought up some good points in that you said practice that muscle, that communication, opening up muscle when you're not in a stressful situation like an argument or a fight or just getting laid off. You want to be working on that beforehand. And even playing games where my husband and I do this sometimes, where we'll just play games, and you have to answer the question. You have to use honesty when you're answering the question, and we can get pretty deep, and it becomes fun. So, making it into something that's not scary and practicing it more and more really is an exercise that will help you in the long term. So, thank you for sharing that.
Sure. If I could piggyback on that, something that might be helpful for your listeners. Within my tradition, in the mystical writings, a man is compared generally to a line, like a line. And the symbol of a woman is a circle. And what happens is if you put a line and a circle next to each other, it looks like a 1 and a 0 adds up to a 10. You have a complete, perfect entity. But men, in general, are more linear. I'm trying to get from point A to point B with my goals, and that actually has an impact in their communication style, right? So what happens is that, in general, men, what are they really thinking? When you ask to communicate with them, in general, they only wish to communicate that which has a point. So a point means I'm trying to convey information, or I'm trying to move an idea of mine further along. I'm trying to get from A to B. That's the main reason men will open up their mouths, whether in relationships or otherwise. A lady who is more symbolized by a circle, which has continuity, is more symbolic, in my belief, of ladies' communication styles in general. My wife and most women are often are happy to share how they are feeling and open up, and it doesn't have to have a specific point or end in the way a man views it in his mind. The act of simply opening up and sharing many times makes a lady feel better and more connected. So, men, I would say, in terms of what are men thinking, when they hear women communicate, in my professional experience as a matchmaker, and I've helped counsel so many couples, they need to understand that women are not necessarily communicating in order to convey a specific point or decision or conclusion, but the act of opening up and sharing is a very healthy feeling for her, and a man needs to become comfortable in receiving that. Sometimes, I'll say this, men often lose their patience, whether it's the end of the day or at another time, because they don't think that what their wife, for example, is communicating has a point. It absolutely does have a point, and it's vital. It's just not necessarily A leads to B leads to C in the exact same way as a man may classically think so.
Right. Okay, and I have the hugest smile on my face because that just makes me giggle inside because it's so true. It is so true. Women can just sit there and we can chit-chat about all kinds of things, and men just kind of look at us like, really? And there's a commercial about that, or there was a commercial a couple years ago where the wife was on the phone and she was saying, and they were talking about minutes, using up all your minutes. She's like, I could just talk all day long about nothing. and the husband just like rolling his eyes, and you could see the dollar signs going around in his head. But it's
oh my gosh.
so true. It makes me laugh. But also to that point, often as a woman, and I'm guilty of this, I will bring something up to my husband, and I'll say, it'll sound like it's a problem, and then he tries to fix it. He wants to give me a solution, but I don't want the solution. I just want him to listen. And that is another area where I feel like there's a big misunderstanding between men and women. Have you experienced that?
Oh my gosh! Now I'm the one here with the big smile on my face. Yes. So that men as fixers in their communication, that's just simply a man relating to what's being communicated to him as though it was coming from a fellow guy, from a man, right? So when a man calls me on the phone, whether it's a law client of mine, a matchmaking client, a consulting client of mine, somebody in the media, the first thing I think of is, what do they want? And I don't mean it like in a bad way, like, what do they want? I mean literally, the person is at A and they want B. So what do they want? And I'll either give it to them, or I won't give it to them, or I'll tell them where to get what they want. So we get to the point like real fast. Somebody called me today from Forbes. My first thought is, what does he want? But I didn't mean it in a bad way, like, what does he want? No, like literally, what problem is he having or need that I could fix? Like, that's what I'm thinking, right? So men need to understand that is a very annoying and curt form of communication in general when it comes to speaking to your spouse, because they may not necessarily, the words may sound to a man's ear as, I'm having this problem, how do I solve it and resolve it? But if a man conveys, here's a good trick, right? If a man conveys his solution to a lady, yet she's continuing to express that there is a problem, lo and behold, it was not a solution that she was after per se. Many times it was just wanting to be heard.
Yeah, and I think, it's also okay when someone is expressing themselves to say, okay, are you looking for an answer, or are you looking for me just to listen? And that just takes away all the anxiety and the confusion by just asking that. It's okay. It's not offensive, and you get straight to the point.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a very useful tool, and I love the way you articulated it. Great stuff.
Well, thank you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about women and what men feel about this. So for many women, our appearance is important, and we try to keep ourselves up. We work out, we eat right, we try to dress our best. But, like for me, when I was younger, I don't do this anymore, but when I was in high school, to go out, I sometimes would take 2 hours to get dressed. I would try on everything and then finally go out. So tell me what do men really care about when they see a woman, especially in matchmaking? I know you and your wife help couples get together. Is the appearance that, just you explain it. What goes through a man's head when they're meeting someone?
Yeah, well, whether through my matchmaking service I'm suggesting a person to another person online or via email or via website, or people are meeting them in person, generally almost everybody wants to be attracted to the people that they are meeting. And most people, even though they'll grant you that, sure, once a person opens their mouth, they could be more cute, less attractive, more appealing, less so. Most people understand that, but at the same time, there's a general expectation most people carry that they should just, when they see somebody in person, in the flesh for 2 seconds, or represented in pixels, on a screen, that they want to feel attracted. A key difference I would suggest, in my experience, is that men are more likely to just pass judgment on a woman if she looks. They might just say she looks good, or he thinks she looks good, or she doesn't. She's pretty or she's not. she's hot or she's not. Like, it's just a general pronouncement in the man's brain with this, broad brushstroke. Like, that's what it is. Ladies in general, in my experience, are more likely to say, I like his style. He has a great smile. Those are cool shoes, and to sort of pick apart, those little kind of things. But in general, many men, or most men, want their lady to, look to them what considers looks good. I think not only they enjoy that for themselves, certainly if they're going out, to be next to a woman they consider to be attractive in public, raises the esteem in which the man is held, if not by society, certainly in the man's head about himself. But I think the way the different genders parse it and break it down is a key difference.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty there. I think it's important for us to, women to understand really what men are thinking. And here's the other thing that I talk about, and this is probably another controversial thing, but, I never shy away from the controversial issues. But as a woman, to feel confident every day, and what I have found is when you are confident, it makes you more attractive, and men and women notice it. Can you tell? Like, when you see a woman, you might see a beautiful woman, a model, but she might have extremely low self-esteem. And then you see another woman who maybe, by book rules, she may be a little bit overweight and whatever, and maybe not as physically attractive, but she carries herself with confidence, and therefore it attracts the eye more. What's your aspect on that?
Yeah, I think you're completely on the money. I think without a doubt, I think once a person begins to reveal who they are, their attractiveness score can go way up or way down. We live in a society where we are extremely visually stimulated and sensitive to visual stimuli all the time. And I think that's just part of it. In general, I urge my clients to give people a chance, because what happens is that, like, let's say you're a matchmaker and I want to suggest a certain man for a woman with whom we're working. So I know that she's, for example, looking for a man between the ages 35 to 42. He has a great career, financially stable, and I know this guy's making like $180,000 a year, right? She wants a guy who's never married before. He's never married before. She's 5'8", and she needs, wants a guy who's taller. The dude is 6'1", okay? She wants somebody who's down to earth and who doesn't want to be a wild person, wants to get married. I know him personally. This is the man, right? So I could suggest him to her, and sometimes a lady will write back and say, thank you for the suggestion, comma, I'm not attracted, period, and hit send, right? And
right.
I think that's an enormous mistake because, look, I get it. You didn't think he was a hunk, from his pictures that I sent you, but he certainly didn't look badly. Your animal instincts weren't inflamed by his pictures. Could I ask you to talk to him on the phone? If you see what a sweet person he is and how smart and what a gentleman, could you have a phone call, right? Because the sooner we allow people or encourage people to give people a chance, at least at that level. I'm not talking about the lady who gets dressed for 2 hours, right, to go out on a date. I'm just saying, could you talk on the phone for 15 minutes? Because I know if you could talk to him on the phone, you'll think he's a cutie pie, and you will want to get together. So that's what I have to say on the topic. I think the confidence could be a factor, and when we're trying to help people, I think who are seeking relationships, we should encourage them to consider what's on the outside, but at least give people a chance to open their mouths and find out the beauty within.
Totally agree, and especially for couples who are with individuals who haven't found the right person. whatever they're doing isn't working. So that's why one would go to a matchmaker, right, to find someone who maybe might be more fitting for that person. So I like that you asked them to at least talk on the phone. So we are going to come back in just 2 minutes. We are going to come back and talk more with Rabbi Bregman about how to get through to men. So stay tuned.
And now it's time for Simple Success Tips with Swami, the intuition guru. And today, Swami, you're going to be talking about how to take actions to thrive versus actions that block us. I hear about this all the time. I know for me, there are moments where I'm like, gosh, I feel like I just have this block and I can't get over it to where I want to be. And if I could just shove that block out of the way, I can have all the success. I hear this actually a lot, but I know it happens in my own life. So Swami, guide us here. How do we do this?
Sure, Midori, it's a pleasure. Really, the master key to get over the block is to ask whatever it is I'm going to need to do. It's for the highest purpose. I might not even know what that is, but something bigger than myself. It's going to help my family. It's going to help my community. It's going to help my clients. It's something that just aligns me, and that gets us out of our own way. And then the next thing that comes along, we may hear something, we may see something, somebody may call us, there may be something on the TV that's on, it just, holy cow, there's the answer. It can happen that quickly. We can get the solution. It might be that we go to sleep, we wake up the next morning, and the solution is in our head. So step one is, whatever this is, help me with something for a higher purpose. And step two is turn on your awareness. See what the answer is. How does it come to you?
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I know that is so valuable. And we've experienced that before in our own lives, but we didn't realize what it is. But now we have the steps to do it. Thank you, Swami.
Pleasure.
If you enjoy this, if you want to know more about intuition and developing that muscle, guess what? Swami and I have heard you. We get these questions all the time and we understand the importance of it. So we have come together and we are in the process of developing an amazing weekend away. It's going to be in a kick-ass spot and I'm so excited to tell you more, and it will be coming. But if you are interested in meeting both Swami and myself in person and having a breakthrough weekend where we just change your lives and help you create that thriving relationship and that thriving life, then simply email me, midori@midoriverity.com, and I will get you that information. All right, till next time.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with the amazing Rabbi Bregman, a.k.a. the Jewish Tony Robbins. In case you weren't here in the beginning, you didn't catch that, but he is known as a Jewish Tony Robbins. He is here with us right now. This is a big deal, but we're having a lot of fun learning about really what men and women, what goes through our head, because sometimes it can feel like a foreign language, but having some clarity and some understanding can really help us with our communication and with creating that synergy that we all really want. So it's been fantastic, and right now we are going to talk about how to get through to men more effectively. So, Rabbi, how can you guide us here? What are some ways that we can, if our guy is not listening to us or they're not accepting what we're saying, give us some advice here.
Sure. Well, I obviously everything could vary by the situation and you said at the top of the show that a person should be self-reflective and say, what am I doing wrong here? What can I do better here? So sometimes a man seems like you can't get through to him, but it's nothing wrong with the guy. It could be that the lady is communicating to him in a way that seems critical or insulting or putting down his self-esteem or his honor, right? So that's never going to work if a lady's speaking in that kind of way. If a person is instead coming from an angle of let's be collaborative, we're in this together, and let's see how we can get to a solution. That's usually a far more effective way. Most men, like women, like most human beings, don't want to be told, you're wrong, I'm right, things can't move forward unless you give me this big apology. The more you try to make a man wrong, it diminishes his personal sense of self. You're putting the person in a corner that even if they want to move things forward, whatever the issue is, it's harder to get through to them because you're asking the guy to fall on a sword. So I think the best way to get through to a man, and we're speaking obviously in a very generic, imaginary case, is to help him understand that you getting what you want will help him in his linear thinking get what he wants. And if it's viewed as a collaborative way on how do we move this forward together so we as a couple win, we thrive, we're both getting what we want and need, and we're both understood, I think that's the general ambit and rubric by which a man is most likely to hear.
Okay, that is huge. That is huge what you said, in that if you really want to get your guy to do something differently, don't make him wrong. You said it. Those were your words. Don't make him wrong, and that's such a simple thing to do. So let's role play a little bit here. So if I come to you, if you and I are married, and I come to you and say, will you please pick up your towel? You leave it on the ground all the time, and it's disgusting. What would be a typical response from a man?
I mean, either he's going to, have some comments back, or he's going to say, I was working very hard all day. Maybe I worked harder than you. Why didn't you pick it up? Or if you walked past it, why didn't you? Or don't you know how many other things I have to do? Or these are
That's
all
how it starts. That's how that little simmering of that argument starts.
Am I right or am I right? Come on
You're
now,
so right. You're so right. Okay, but then now let's make some magic happen right now. So instead, if I came to you and said, oh my gosh, look, your towel is on the ground again, but I'm going to pick it up because I think you're awesome, and I know that you've been working so hard, and I just want to help you out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it up so when you use it again, it smells nice and fresh because I love you. Okay, there was some cynicism in there, some sarcasm, but I was saying it to be kind of funny, but I mean, would he respond better to that?
Yeah, I think that's better. Another one that I think would work, fairly well also is, since you love me so much, can you do me a huge favor? Can you please pick up your towels off the floor? I know it seems to you like silly and I'm nitpicking, but just put it in the category of things that are really important to me and score a lot of points. Happy wife, happy life.
Oh, I love that. You know what you should do?
Tell me.
You should have an app, a phone app, where you give these little tidbits of how to respond effectively. And you would make you'd make millions. That was really good.
Okay, hey, listen, I'm gonna go to GoDaddy.com and start looking up what URLs are for sale afterwards.
Yeah, there you go. And I want to cut because it was my suggestion, but I think that often, especially when we are really upset, it's very. And I'm speaking about myself here, but I've seen it so many times with others that when we're really upset, we have a tendency to say things with fire coming out of our mouth. So instead of saying it where there's more purpose to it and we've really thought it out so that we aren't upsetting someone and so that it is more effective, we come out a little bit strong. So if we had an app where we could just refer to it and it told us how to say it, that would solve so many problems.
I love it. I'm with you. If I can just add a general overarching concept to how to get through to men, I think will also apply on how to get through to women. And that is, in general, you want to communicate with people. And this could be at work, and it could be a coworker. From an angle of agreement, you always want to stay in agreement. Via one of my companies, Bregman Success, I do sales training for individuals, sales teams, corporations on how to sell more, move more products, get more deals done. The first rule of sales is agreement. Stay in agreement. Don't make the buyer wrong. Don't argue with them. And you show them two things, and one is black and one is white. They say it's purple. You got to stay in purple, right? So, like agreement move things forward. When you start with disagreement, you're going to have a problem. So if we start out trying to get through to our man, whether it's picking something up or getting them to help us on a Sunday, or spend time with us, if we're coming from a perspective of something we agree on, then there's a much greater chance that anybody's going to listen to you. But if it starts from criticism is another form of disagreement, it's not going to work. It's that since we love each other so much and we agree that our relationship is our number one priority, can we please do something fun on Sunday? That's way more effective because you're coming from a perspective of agreement, right?
Right.
But if it's, you never, by the way, let's talk about this one. When you come at a guy, you want to know what men really think at the topic of your show? You come at these men with you nevers and you alwayses. Oh, my gosh. First of all, 99.9, let's be honest, it ain't true. It's factually not true. And the guy's going to come out, what do you mean I never take you out? And then he's going to take out his phone and remember the dates and the times that you did go places, and he's going to try to make you wrong. So you come at the guy with you nevers, or you always do this. You always leave your socks on the floor. Really? Always? What about the ones they took off this morning? See those on the floor, right? So
right. Or they come to you and they say, okay, well, you give me examples. Tell me all the times that I did it. And then you're put on the spot where you're like, oh, darn it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a loser already right there. Like literally the agreement is far off the rails and in a ditch, and it's going to take 3 tow trucks to get it back on track.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you start with the exaggeration in the communication.
Yeah, and so just keeping it as simple. If you remember one thing from this show, start with agreement, not disagreement. Start with agreement, and you will be much more successful in all aspects of your life, right? With your kids, with your spouse, with sales, it's all the same. So
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay,
yeah.
So we're gonna move on to my favorite part of the show, where we play a little game. Doug, do you have our game music queued up for us? Okay, so today I just got this new game. I was at the store shopping for gifts for the holidays, and I got a new game called Table Topics. And have you ever seen this before, Rabbi, where the Table Topics?
No. I never saw it before, no.
They're really cool. And so they have all kinds of questions that are really about discussion. And so I pulled out a couple that I thought would be interesting. And since you are a rabbi, I have to ask you this question. Are you ready?
I'm sitting here with bated breath.
Okay, good. When's the last time you needed to consult your moral compass?
When's the last time I needed to? So you want me to tell you what it was and when?
Yes.
When was the last time I needed to consult my moral compass? I would say maybe as recently as yesterday, and I can tell you the specific context. There are many times in life where contract law or standard business practices dictate that you don't owe someone anything. However, because I try to answer to a higher authority with the H and the A in caps, right, in capital letters, what society allows or tolerates or permits or normal business practices or contract law or the courts, that many times, even though that's what most people are going by, to me, that represents the floor below which my conduct can fall, but I'm aiming for a higher ceiling of how to treat people and to do to others as I wish would be done to me. So I would say that was the last time, and that was yesterday. And in business, you have to always do a gut check if you want to keep a good reputation.
It's true, and to be able to wake up with yourself the next day and feel good. So
absolutely, totally.
Yeah, I think that's Great. Okay, so my next question for you, if you could spend a week with any hero, who would you choose?
Any hero. Well, what I would say, if I could spend a week with any hero of mine, I would probably wish to spend it with my grandparents of blessed memory, who both passed away in the last couple of years, if I could have a double hero. But because I grew up living just a few miles away from my wonderful grandparents, and they were like another set of parents to me, like parents A and parents 1A and 1B. And I miss them very much, and I gleaned enormous wisdom from them. They came, they basically were born in America at the turn of the century and lived to the hundreds, and they saw a lot. And I wish I could spend more time to continue to pick their brains and minds and hearts and to garner ancient wisdom, time-tested wisdom on how to deal with all the modern stuff I have to deal with.
You know, and I think it's important. My father's turning 85 in about a month, but to remember to appreciate them when they're here and to take the time to we all get so busy. So many of us have kids and we're working and we're volunteering and we're doing just tons of stuff. But to really take some time and hang out and listen to them and learn their stories, because they won't always be around. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and I think that's a great reminder for all of us. Okay, my last question.
It's trendy to answer this president or I don't know, the CEO or whatever, but that's the real answer. I know plenty of famous people, but that's really who I wish I could spend more time with.
And I think it's a great answer. I think it's a great answer all the way around because, again, it's a good reminder. But also, they have so much wisdom. And you said your grandparents lived till they were 100. So imagine the wisdom that they gained in that lifetime. Amazing.
Yeah, if you live from 1910 to 2010, I mean, for goodness sake, how much they saw, you know?
They've seen a lot. They have seen a lot, and they may know a little more than you and I. So I think that's fantastic. And congratulations to them for having so many wonderful years here. Okay, so my last question to you, I'm going through these and just trying to figure out which one I want to ask. And let's see. If you do something good because you think you will be rewarded, does it count?
That's a terrific question. So what I would say in general is that I personally believe that there are rewards in this world and rewards in the next world. I generally find that life on this planet is often thankless from human beings, and one of the quickest ways to get people to not appreciate you or to be ungrateful is to do something good for them. It's interesting. In Hebrew, ingratitude is called kriyas hatov, which means literally covering up the good someone has done for you. When people do nice things and kindnesses for you, it reminds you that you're not completely independent. You are reliant on other people, and that sometimes in life you're a receiver and not just a giver. So many times that shatters the notion that people have inside that they don't need anybody and they don't need anything and they can just do whatever they want, right? So, right. And they're independent and self-made. So therefore they want to cover up with ingratitude. So I believe that the general rule is that God ultimately rewards everyone for every bit of good that they ever did, no matter how small. But we should operate in a way that we try to live up to our best version of ourselves, but don't expect a lot of thanks in this world.
Well, there you have it. You just said it so well, and that's a good reminder for us, as you know. And when we do those things that we think, "Wow, we're going to get so many brownie points," and then it doesn't happen, that's just life. That is just life. So this whole interview has been so much fun for me. You have just given us fantastic nuggets. So now I feel like I understand my husband better, and I will try to speak from agreement more often. It won't happen every time, but it is going to happen more often because I'm going to practice. So I appreciate all the tips and the suggestions that you have shared with us. And so for the audience, I said in the beginning, you do a plethora of things, from being an attorney to being a rabbi to being an author to being a matchmaker. So how can people get a hold of you and find out more about you?
Sure. Well, we know each other even from off air. I'm a friendly, nice, kind person, happy to help as many people as I can, officially or unofficially. So if a person simply looks me up, Googles me, or on any major platform, you should be able to find me. So my website is rabbibregman.com, RABBIBREGMAN.com. If you plug that into Google, you should find me. And on every platform, I'm there. So Facebook.com/Rabbi Bregman, YouTube.com/Rabbi Bregman. I have 400 videos. My full name is Shlomo, SHLOMO, Zalman, ZALMAN. My last name, Bregman. If you punch that into Google, you'll find more stuff than you know what to do with. So I'm not too tough to reach, and I'm your go-to Jew.
The go-to Jew. You heard it here. I have him on the show. Perfect. And as always, you can just go to my website, MidoriVerity.com. That is where all of his information will be, in case you didn't catch all 4 of those. Is it 4? Did I catch that? 4 parts of your name. It will all be there for you.
One is too close to none. It's easy to find.
Okay, perfect. So this is our new date. We have changed our date and our time, and I hope that you are enjoying this. But always, you can find out more information about you can get the replays and my 3 Minutes to Thrive, and more information about upcoming guests on Facebook, which is at Midori Verity. And in fact, just like Rabbi just said, that is my handle for everything. Instagram, for Pinterest, for Twitter. It is at Midori Verity. So I look forward to seeing you next time. And as always, we end with a little bit of gratitude, attitude. So remember, tell your partner one thing, just one thing every day that you appreciate about them. And remember to come from agreement. There you go. All right, you guys, until next week, have a great one.
Thanks for listening to the Kick-Ass Relationship Show with Midori Verity. We hope you've enjoyed the show and want to share the love by passing on our web address, MidoriVerity.com/show, to your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous shows. This has been a Midori Verity International production. Join us next time on the Kick-Ass Relationship Show to add passion and fun to enjoy the most extraordinary relationship and life.